Now, for years upon years, Nintendo has been making games that appeal to everyone and don't leave any group of people out. Anyone can play them, young and old. However, while they might get amazing age ratings from the PEGI rating agency, which stands for Pan-European Gaming Information, there are some odd things in the games. Certain things that might be a bit of a shocker to some as soon as they figure out what is actually happening in the game. So today we will take a look at some of the most disturbing things seen in the cute-looking Super Mario games. And some of these are quite, let's say, interesting. Number 8. Now, while most Mario games look quite colorful and happy, there are certain portions where the game becomes really dark, even though it all still looks cute. And even in the most recent Mario game, Super Mario Odyssey, we saw something like this at the very beginning of the game. In this game, Cappy introduces himself at the start and explains to Mario that Bowser not only had attacked the kingdom, destroying its airship armada, but had also kidnapped Tiara, his sister. After this, he will help you out, and together with him, you will go on a grand adventure to stop Bowser and his minions and save everyone. However, while this sounds very cute, in the very beginning, when going through the Cap Kingdom, you will see all the damage the villains have done to the world. Buildings burning, hundreds of citizens taken out by the villains, and even the entire army has been turned into ash. It could even be that a big part of the kingdom didn't survive this huge attack, and so we might not even see them in Super Mario Odyssey 2, for example. It was a really devastating attack, which is quite a disturbing thing to think about. Number 7. Now, Super Mario 64 is certainly one of the most beloved games in the entire franchise, mostly for breaking boundaries. The world changed so much, going from 2D to a completely new setting in 3D, which no one expected. And thanks to this new world, we see some new, gruesome things that are there to kind of shock the player in a way. Back in games like Super Mario World, we saw enemies as well as friends slowly go into lava, which was certainly a lot to take in. And in 3D, we have the thwomps and other foes that try to crush you. They're seen in many levels and have only one goal, trying to stop Mario from defeating Bowser, and they do this in a very interesting way, landing right on top of you, squeezing you to bits. And in a lot of 3D games, this looks and sounds very painful. Way more than it was in the 2D games. Which kinda makes me uncomfortable, to be honest. The only thing that it would need to make it even worse is the sound of crushing bones. And I gotta say, not a lot of people think about what happens to Mario in the games. Sure, everyone around him suffers as well, but sometimes he meets his end in very disturbing ways, with getting flattened being among them. And I also have to say that there are other ones out there that are also worth mentioning. Like Mario sinking into quicksand, which was seen in Super Mario Galaxy. Stuff like this is absolutely horrifying to look at. Number 6. Now, another legendary game is Super Mario World, being king of the 2D games according to a big part of the fanbase. However, in this game, we also see some shady and dark things when you actually think about it. You know what? Let me put it like this. Some of the things Mario ends up doing on Dinosaur Island are actually that bad, they should be considered war crimes. Because after Mario defeats one of the koopalings, for example Ludwig, he ends up retrieving the imprisoned Yoshi, which is his only goal. But what he actually does afterwards is he attempts to blow up the castle while the koopaling is still inside. When it comes to Ludwig, the detonation causes the castle to rocket into the air, and it crashes into a nearby hill who gets a bandage after that. So he actually tries to end their life on purpose by essentially blowing them all up after stomping them a couple of times. As you can imagine, this is quite insane. It isn't just enough to stop them. No. Mario actually plays judge, jury, and execution, which is pretty nuts, to be honest. Number 5. Now, while we did just discuss awful events caused by Bowser's attacks, he is sometimes the victim together with his son. They have certainly done a lot of bad things and are often purely evil, but in certain games you do sympathize with them. And one great example of this is seen in Super Mario Sunshine at the very end of the game after defeating them. Here they can be seen far away from the Isle Delfino on a raft, looking quite sad in general after losing the fight. And here Bowser Jr. says he knew all along that Peach wasn't really his mother, which was a big part of the story, but he wants to fight Mario again. After this, Bowser looks happy and praises his son, saying that they will do that, but for now we'll rest a while. Now what's so sad about this is the fact that Bowser actually tries to raise his son well, even looking for a mother that can help him with this. However, in the end, that doesn't work out, because he can't force Peach to be part of their family. So it's not complete in a way. In general, I find it a disturbing and sad situation, the whole single parenthood angle. However, it's also quite subtle, so maybe it's even darker than we think. Number 4. Now in the Super Mario games, we only see one big ape, Donkey Kong, and the rest of his family, of course. And we see him play with all the others in games like Mario Party and Mario Kart. However, there was a time in history where this wasn't the case. For example, in the arcade game Donkey Kong, where he is the main villain. And the plot of this game was pretty weird, to be honest. In this title, he was the pet gorilla of Mario, but escapes and angrily carries Mario's girlfriend to the top of a high construction site. And so Mario needs to get her back. Going up the construction site, all while barrels as well as living fire are thrown at him. And in later games, Mario becomes the villain and ends up taking on Donkey Kong's son, while his dad is imprisoned. Now all of this is already quite odd, and it gets even worse when looking at the artwork where Mario has a whip, which he uses on the apes. He basically captured these animals and forces his will on them, which can be seen in the game and on the freaking arcade machine even. It's quite clear what was happening here, and why Donkey Kong escaped as well as kidnapped Mario's girlfriend. Almost everything we see in this game is probably something you shouldn't do with your own pets. And if I would try to put this in other words or give it a name, I would probably get in trouble with YouTube, which already says enough. Number 3. Now, most of the time, the Mushroom Kingdom is peaceful, with Toads running around, laughing, and a satisfied Princess Peach in her castle. However, as we all know, Bowser tends to give them a hard time when he attacks. Sometimes he does so quite calmly, not using a whole lot of firepower and just coming in taking what he needs, usually the princess. However, there's one game where his army comes in during a really bad time, and they completely destroy everything in their sight. Because in Super Mario Galaxy, there's a special event called the Eve of the Star Festival. Overall, it's a very beautiful sight and an amazing event to be a part of, as you can see at the start of the game. However, as soon as Mario walks in, things go horribly wrong. Because the castle gardens are suddenly attacked by Bowser. And this isn't just kidnapping Peach anymore or causing some chaos, because he fires at the Toads below with his airships and freezes them in crystals. So from the very start, he comes in with everything he has and starts attacking innocent people below, causing mass hysteria among villagers. And thanks to the cannons, a lot of buildings like houses are on fire and explosions are everywhere, all while Peach watches helplessly. After this, he goes to the princess and ends up laser cutting the whole castle loose from the ground so he can take it with him. Clearly, this is Bowser's most insane attack ever, both in scale as well as brutality. Now, we don't exactly know the aftermath of the attack since Mario ends up somewhere in space thanks to the events, but I bet many lives were lost in this huge attack. The kingdom was probably in ruins thanks to all the damage and the leader of the country being gone. There was probably no one to manage the situation, which is absolutely horrible. Number 2. Every now and then, Nintendo tries to make really scary levels. You know, those haunted houses and stuff filled with spooky ghosts. We see them in so many games, it's crazy. But sadly enough, they're usually not that scary. Even kids can go through them with no problem at all. Well, this goes for kids nowadays, in the year 2020. However, back in my day... My golly, I sound old now. We used to have a game called Super Mario 64 with some super scary enemies. That's terrible for my voice. The creepy enemies I'm talking about can be seen in Big Boo's Haunt, which is a 3-story mansion owned by the Big Boo located in a small cage. And in this level, we encounter one enemy that really spooked me out when I was younger and still if I don't expect it. The Haunted Piano! This being will attack you relentlessly as soon as it spots you with its big scary teeth. Now, what's so disturbing about this thing is that it's actually a really good and effective jump scare, which you would never expect in a Super Mario game, making it even better. Some kids were really spooked out by this, as you can imagine, and even in the year 2020, it can still really get to you if you don't know about it. Number 1. Now for our last one, we will be looking at quite a unique item from a Mario spin-off game with a dark origin. Not in the game itself, oh no, but actually in real life. I'm talking about the Boo Bell, an item that debuted in Mario Party 2. It rarely appears and can only be obtained in an item minigame, so it's certainly special to an extent. Now in the game, it's used to ring for a Boo to ask him to steal coins or a star, depending on how much the player can afford. And it can also be seen in Mario Party 3 and many more games, even modern ones. However, while the item seems quite harmless, the real-life version of it wasn't, to be honest. Because it might be that the Boo Bell is a reference to the medieval practice of burying the dead with a bell on a string tied to them, with the bell being kept above ground, so that if someone was buried alive, they could ring the bell so the gravekeeper could dig them out. The world of medicine wasn't as far evolved back then, so sometimes they made mistakes. And this was used to figure out if something went wrong. Now, as you can imagine, all of this is really depressing, and almost no one knows that this might have inspired the item. And this isn't really fitting for a game like Mario Party, since death and being buried alive is quite a dark train of thought. However, what is a very fun and positive thing is subscribing to this channel and clicking the bell button and the videos in the upper right corner and the ones on the screen right now. Yes, watch more videos please and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.